Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. The Be Fulfilled Journal helps you be more honest with yourself and with others and be more open to handling things you've avoided dealing with for years. It's a 12-week online and journal program that helps you identify and eliminate things you do that are causing you stress and live in more gratitude and joy. It was actually developed by a long-term friend of mine who got sober in 2008, and he's put together a great deal just for my listeners. You get the 300-page hardcover journal and access to the 12-week video program online, plus free shipping, plus membership in a private Facebook support group with others going through the program, plus a 5-day mini course showing you how to let go of stuff that's draining your energy, plus a 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. To start your journey and get all the bonuses, go to BeFulfilledJournal.com/ELG. That's BeFulfilledJournal.com/ELG. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, and this is a first for me. We've got a great guitar player and band leader out of Russia, so we are expanding the Everyone Loves Guitar reach. We're with Shamil Usarov, who is the guitar player and the leader of the band Seversun, Seversun. He's 30 years old, from Moscow. They released their debut album called New World Chaos in 2017. They're a very strong metal band, and now they're recording a follow-up album, which is set to release sometime this year. That album's going to be called Headlong Through Blood. It's going to be bigger, and there's going to be more of everything. He has been enjoying rock and metal music since he was 8 years old, started playing guitar at 15. He entered the band in 2008. Briefly as a guitarist. He switched to bass until 2016, and now he's back playing guitar. He plays a customized Ibanez Sifos baritone guitar. We'll talk about that later. He says he doesn't consider himself too much of a guitar player. I dispute that, and he's more like the overall architect behind the band. And if Seversun would need me to switch to trombone or didgeridoo, he would. So that man is dedicated, and we'll talk about that as well. Shamil, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for calling. Hi.
You're welcome. And man, your English, we were talking about this before the call started. Your English is so amazing, man. It's like I could talk to you all day. I cannot believe how well you speak English. And and I got to tell everybody, when the email exchange is, in 1 million years, I would not know that English is your second language, man. I really give you a lot of credit, because it's not an easy thing to do, to speak a different language like that.
Yeah, I get that a lot. A lot of people say that to me. I contact with a lot of people from all around the world, and mostly native English speakers. They say like, "Oh, I would never think that you're from Russia or anything." But I think when I talk, I'm not talking like this, like I'm a Russian, but still you can hear a little bit accent. Anyway.
Yeah, you sound great, man.
Thank you.
Let me ask you a question. I don't think the general population of music listeners and music fans here in the States knows very much about, if anything, what's going on musically in Russia. And I was wondering if you could maybe talk about the overall music scene there, and specifically, since you're a metal band, is there a big metal scene as well?
Well, of course, it's kind of complicated, and there are very few bands, rock and metal bands, that are playing outside Russia now. I think it's Slaughter to Prevail. It's a deathcore band. It's a Russian one. They have American guitarists, but they're still Russian. They have some lyrics in Russian, but mostly it's English. They're pretty big outside Russia. I know they've toured the US and maybe some Europe. I don't know. And there's also a band called Arcona, which is a folk metal band. Folk is always some kind of another thing, because that's what people want to hear from different countries. It's not just like some general metal or heavy metal or thrash or whatever. So it's folk from Finland, like Korpiklani, like folk from, I don't know, from Greece, from some Celtic stuff and everything. So yeah, Arcona is pretty big too. They tour all over the world, and that's pretty much. Well, there's also Ginger, a band called Ginger. They're from Ukraine, but they are. It's pretty much the same in terms of culture, of rock culture, and everything. The metal scene in Russia is not big at all, and there are very very few bands that are successfully touring even in Russia. And there are some bands that are singing in Russian, so they are like they are playing only for Russian people, because nobody outside Russia is gonna listen to Russian music in Russian language, which is not folk. But it's all about the legacy of the Soviet Union, because when all the world were making rock music and metal music, there was no people making this kind of music in Soviet Union. And when it collapsed, there were a lot of people who tried to play rock and metal, but they didn't know how to do that. So there was so-called Russian rock. We have a term. It sounds like Russian rock, but in fact we don't name any rock from Russia just Russian rock, because Russian rock is some kind of I don't know. It's some kind of a bit like American country music, with people just not even singing, but like citing lyrics all over the acoustic guitar and whatever, and they somehow call it rock. I don't know what's the point of that. Yeah, there were very few good metal bands. There is a big old metal band called Aria, like Aria. I don't know.
Yes.
But they were like from 80s, and they're still playing. But they had a lot of good songs. They had a lot of good stuff. But they're singing in Russian, and they have a lot of rip-off of Iron Maiden, of Judas Priest, and everything. They're like ripping off album covers. They're ripping off like stage shows, like directly some riffs and everything. So it's very unstable. But if we're talking about now, it's like 30 years from almost 30 years from the fall of the Soviet Union, and for these 30 years, some people managed to understand how rock and metal music should be made, and there are a lot very good bands in all of the genres. In progressive rock, in progressive metal, in death metal, a lot of brutal metal bands like death metal, like Fetal Decay.
Oh my God, that's a pretty serious death metal name, Fetal Decay.
Yeah, very good. Actually, the guitar player from Fetal Decay, he played a guest solo on in the song of our first album.
That's cool.
That's actually a very good band. They're not like like a gore grind band. No, they're a death metal band. Like, they're pretty intelligent stuff. I recommend that. In fact,
Decay.
Yeah, there were. I think my most favorite Russian band ever. They were called Hieronymus Bosch or Bosch. I don't know.
What? I know that band for some reason.
They're fantastic. They're disbanded now. They were fantastic. Their last album called Equivoque, he's so fucking good. It's really good, like top-notch progressive metal. It's really good. I listened. I was a huge fan at the time I heard them. I was a huge fan of Opeth, Dream Theater, and when I heard them, it was nothing worse than these big names. That's a really good band.
I'm gonna check them out. Let me ask you this: one of the things that's happened here in the States is pretty much as a result of the internet and people just not going out as much. A lot of clubs that were used to be around and had music and places to play, they're just gone. And I was curious, is that similar over in same thing's happening?
Yeah, because 10 years ago, the scene was a bit better. The all this internet club thing is a bittersweet, because it's good and bad.
Yes.
When you have internet, people for real, like you said, they don't go out too much. But when you have internet, you can spread your music in the internet like much easier. If not for internet, you would never hear about Seversun.
Correct.
About my band, you never hear that. But I think about that a lot. Like 30, 40 years ago, people were just going for random live shows, for random some club concerts and everything. And when they've heard a band, they were like, okay, I'm going to buy their record. And then they bought their record. So it was this continuity, and now it's completely different because now people roam all over the internet. They hear a band, they start listening to them. And if they like it, then they go to see them live. So it's the tables have turned completely,
Yes.
But I don't think that's a bad thing, You go to see a band live only if you really love them. This is what it is,
Yep.
You can't change it anymore. But yeah, in Russia it was the same. I remember going to live shows like live shows of local bands, of course, not like big names like Metallica or whatever. If we're talking about local bands, 10 years ago the scene was more saturated. You could go to any club and see like at least at least some 50 people, maybe 100 of people, even on some unknown bands. But now you can see a set of 5 different bands playing, and there's gonna be like 5 people at every set.
Yeah.
Set.
No, it's the same thing here, man. Unfortunately, you originally joined Seversun in 2008 as the bass player. And now you're pretty much the band leader and the rhythm guitars. How did all that happen? Because you're like super committed to your band, man.
Yeah, not exactly. The band was founded by Max, which he's still in the band, and he was all over the time. And the guy Tim, he was our drummer at first, but he's a singer on our debut album on New Old Chaos. He's singing. He's a vocalist on that album. So they two founded the band. Max was singing and playing guitar, and Tim was drumming. They didn't want that pretty much, but they just wanted to have a band. And they knew that Metallica was founded by a drummer and a singing guitarist, so they say like,
okay.
And I'm gonna be like James Hetfield, so that's funny. So they were very committed because they were not playing at the time, so they didn't have any instruments. So the first idea was the band, and then they started learning their instruments to play in the band. I think they were like learning like about a year, and they have a friend a guy who's still our big friend, who was playing guitar too. So he was like second guitarist, and they had different bass players. So they have like the one, then the second one, and so they didn't have any bass player, and we kind of like got to know each other from the internet, and they were asking me to join the band as a bass player. I was just playing guitar at home.
Mm-hmm.
I was played in a band, so I said, like, I'm not a bass player. I don't even have a bass. I have a guitar. So they invited me, but I didn't want to. And then after a couple of months, the guitarist they had, he went to the States for a summer, like it was kind of work and travel stuff. So he went to the States like for a couple of months, and they invited me. They had some shitty bass player came in, and they invited me to play guitar for a couple of months, like temporarily. So at first I played guitar. We've had a gig. One gig. I think it was the first gig of the band with its own songs and whatever. And then the guitarist came back, and we made the shitty bass player quit. So I already liked the guys. I already liked the band playing. I already wanted to play in the band. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna play bass. And I played bass for some time. Then the band disbanded for like a couple of years. Then we came back. The guitarist he didn't want to come back, so I was like, I don't know, maybe I should play guitar. I never wanted to play bass, you know. I just played it like because the spot was vacant.
Sure.
So then I switched to guitar and played it ever since. As for commitment and everything, I don't know, it just somehow happened, you know. Like Glenn Tipton, he was not a founder of Judas Priest, but somehow he happened to have the most organizing, managing skills and a lot of and everything. But I would never call myself a leader, you know, but Max is referring to me. Even with this interview, you know, he had an offer from you, and he contacted me and he said, like, you should do the interview. I was like, no, do it yourself. And he was like, no, you. I was like, what the hell? Yeah, I want you to speak, but his English is a bit worse than mine, so we decided that
your English is great, man. Let me tell you, it's nothing worse. I would not use the word worse describing your English.
No, I mean his English.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. So
we decided for me to talk, but you know he always referred to me as a leader. And he's saying, you're the leader, do this. I don't know, maybe that's an excuse for not doing anything. Sometimes he was like, you're the leader, you do this, you do that, you contact them. And I was like, maybe. But that's true. I do a lot of stuff for the band, a lot of managing, a lot of promoting stuff, and a lot of musical stuff and lyrical and everything. I deal with the drums, I deal with the vocals, I deal with the mixing, with sound engineer. I deal with everything. I don't know. Maybe I'm like kind of the kind of person I am. Maybe sometimes over controlling. Maybe sometimes. Well,
yeah, but I think look, every organization needs a leader, so there's nothing wrong with it. And if you're the guy that stepped up and did it, and if everybody's happy, great. You know, it's clear that your intentions are to support the band. So I think that's all that these guys are thinking. You know.
Well, if it's not going to happen like some arrogant asshole who dictates everything, I don't want to be that.
No, I totally get you, man. You guys were together a long time before you released the first record, New World Chaos, and now you're getting ready to release a second pretty quickly afterwards. And congratulations on that, by the way. But what did you learn when you made your first album that maybe helped you in making Headlong Through Blood? or is helping you make that?
It's funny that you said about quickly after, because we were planning to release it the last year, so the albums will be like a year and the next year, but we couldn't do that mostly because of the vocals and everything. So I don't consider 2 year gap as quick for a new band. There's some bigger bands there have bigger gaps, but I get your question. Well, the first one, it was the vocals, of course, because we released the album and we knew that the vocals were not good enough, and we decided to get rid of the singer, which is our big friend, which is the founder of the band, and we made him quit drums, like
Tim.
in the beginning of the band. We made him quit drums because he was not good enough at drums, and then we disbanded, and then we got together again, and he said, like, maybe I should try to sing, and we were like, okay, try that. He was trying, and he was again not good enough, so we do that. We analyzed the first album, like, could the guitars be better? No, we couldn't do better. We did the best of the guitars we could do at the album. Compose wise, like performing wise, mixing wise, and everything. We did our best at guitars. Could the vocals be better? They could, much better, and the album would be so much better with better vocals. So yeah, we decided to change vocals. Also, it was very, very fucked up with drums, because the drums are sampled on the album. They're sampled because we had no drummer. It's so damn hard to find a good drummer. But now we found a drummer. He's kind of like half-paid drummer, like kind of session one, but he's a really good guy. But I don't know, maybe he's the most. I think I could call him the best extreme metal drummer in Russia at all.
That's pretty.
But he's not very. But that's not very big, because there are not too many extreme metal drummers in Russia. But still, he's fantastic. He's very fast. He's playing like insanely. You're gonna hear it. He's not very exposed because he's a complex person. But anyway, so we know for sure that drums are gonna be way better, because it's a drummer who arranged the drum parts. Because on the first album, all of the drums were written and arranged by me, and partly by Tim when he was a drummer. So it was not drum parts written by a guitar player. It's never a good thing.
No, it's not. No.
It's never a good thing. And now it's the drummer, a real drummer, writes it, and it sounds like drums, like drums written by a drummer. And vocals, we got a new singer. He haven't recorded anything yet for us, but he's gonna do that maybe next week or whatever. But we know for sure that he's really good at clean singing, all kinds of clean singing, and like driven clean singing, drive singing, like that good harsh rock tone, and some extreme singing and everything. So we changed the lineup. The main thing we changed is the lineup. So we're gonna have the best vocals we could have, and the best drums we could have, and the guitars, they should be still as good as on the first album.
So basically, you and Max are the only ones from the first record.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys really did an overhaul. Okay, I give you credit for analyzing all that, and it's not easy to do all that stuff. To say, hey, we need to get better, and in order to get better, we got to do this and that and the other thing. So
we're not just gonna change the lineup, but we gotta say that to our big friend, to a guy who's a singer in the band, who's a founder of the band. Yeah, sometimes you should do that, but sometimes it's you should choose if it's like a friendly stuff you're making as a hobby, or is it true music kind of state of art thing.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Yeah, because if you're just doing it as a hobby, you can tolerate, or just friendships are the priority. Whereas if it's something more serious, then you got to overlook a friendship sometime, I guess is what you're saying.
Well, it didn't hurt our friendship. We're still
cool.
Good friends with everything, because he's a good guy. The Tim Singer, he's a good guy. He understands everything. He wanted better for the band he founded, so he knew his vocals are not good enough. But yeah, sometimes you have to burn the bridges with the guys. Sometimes you have to say someone to fuck off. Hopefully this is not gonna be happening to us, but who knows.
Have you guys played outside of Russia at all?
No, never.
Is that something that you can do, or you're looking to do at some point? I don't know the logistics of that. Is it hard?
Yeah.
Like, do you need?
Yeah, pretty hard.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
It's just hard, like logistically. Logistically, I don't know. We have some offers from the United States. There we had plenty of offers. Like, oh, guys, we can make a tour for us, for you, like 20 different shows. Like you're gonna have, I don't know, $100 for a show, and we could be okay with that. But the flight for a band of 4 people from Moscow to I don't know, to cheapest city of the United States, like maybe it's Atlanta, the cheapest flights, it's gonna be like $4,000.
Holy shit! And that doesn't include if you have to bring equipment and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, equipment, we could
hotels,
guitars, or whatever. No, just the flight.
Yeah, I know, that's crazy.
The US and back in the end of a tour is going to be $4,000. That's pretty big,
Each?
Just for guys.
That's still quite a bit
it's
of money.
about $1,000 here and there. So yeah, sometimes it's just really hard. I hope that's our first international tour is going to be Europe, because it's a bit easier. You can go there on a bus from Russia, or on a minivan or whatever. But we're having negotiations now, and hopefully we're going to play some foreign shows this year after the release of our album. Hopefully, yeah, we're going to announce that.
Very cool. Man.
That's I'm gonna say that's the main objective now, to play live outside Russia, to play live in Europe, in the United States, because most of our fan base is placed in the United States, in Germany, in UK. So a lot of people ask us to come out and play, so we're gonna do that.
Very cool, man. You guys have a slogan that I see on a lot of your merch and other things. It says "Keep the hate clean." What do you mean by that?
Oh, that's not much of a slogan of the band. That's the name of a song, but I don't know. It just sounds. We've had the song. It's on the first album. I think it's the second song. Keep the hate clean. It's one of the older songs, and it's a song about that Nazi, racial, religious hatred, like and it was called just "Gott mit uns." It's a German slogan were used by Nazis, but that's a pretty stupid name. I think some bands, a lot of bands have a songs named like that, and prior to the release of the album, I said like we should rename it. We should gonna give it a better name. Like, come on, let's do this. The song is really good. The song is very hard hitting. We should find a better name for that. So we had how it's called, the brainstorm.
Yeah.
We were brainstorming. We were choosing a lot of different names, but then we get that the word hate should be in the name. Okay, hate, and we tried a lot of stuff with hate and hatred. And Tim, our bass singer, he keep the hate clean. And there's a line in the song "Keep the Blood Clean," which is one of the slogans of, I think, from Nazis or from KKK. I don't know. Keep the blood clean, like don't
wait,
mess up or with everything. So yeah, we just got that, and we thought that sounds really good, and we're okay. We're okay with hate. It's not like don't hate anything. We're not pacifist. But you got to keep the hate clean. Like, hate someone if you hate someone, it should be someone really bad, not just like some stupid reasons to hate.
So I'm confused. Is the song like supporting racism or like condemning racism? Yeah, that's how I was. Okay, so it's about like condemning racism and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. You can read the lyrics. It's a pretty harsh song. It's a pretty harsh lyrics opposing any form of racial,
that's what I
national, or religious discrimination, hatred, and whatever.
Cool. Yeah, that's what I thought. I was just like, I got confused by what you said. Okay.
Well, I'm sorry. The problem is when you call a song like this, when you call it "Gott mit uns" in German, and it's a German slogan, a lot of people gotta think that you're supporting that.
Yeah,
so that's what's the reasons why we changed the name.
Totally get it. Okay, well, that's good. Without like talking about politics, I was curious, how does the average young Russian person your age, let's say, perceive America as far as like, is it a place people are interested in? I'm just curious because I know nothing about Russia. I know I've had some friends of mine visit there, and they said it's beautiful. It's specifically the architecture and the way things are, the age of the buildings there. But what is, again, without talking about politics, what does the average person perceive about America?
I think I'm not going to lie if I would say that anywhere in the world, people are interested in America because it's a big country with a big culture, not like kind of historical culture, but a big pop culture.
Yes.
The whole world watches American movies, listens to American music. It's mostly about the movies because you see that from. I was watching American movies, Hollywood movies from my childhood, and I was seeing American cities, American like cultural references and everything. So we know a lot about America because of the movies, mostly because of the movies. So yeah, everybody's interested, of course. There are some, some stereotypes about capitalist America, about warmongering America, about about like fat Americans, about Americans.
That's not a stereotype. That's a fact. Man, everybody that when I talk to people that are here, I went to a concert recently to see one of the players that was on my show, and his wife was there, and they're not from this country, and she said to me, she said, I can't believe how many people are so overweight here. They're going to die. So everybody from another country says that, especially here in Florida. We have like cornered the market on it for some reason. I don't know why.
All those stereotypes, those are not like Russian stereotypes about America. It's the same in Germany, in Britain. Everybody say the same. So I don't think we're very different in our opinion about Americans from all over the world, but I don't think it's any kind of like hatred or
no, I never
anything.
get that.
It's a very interesting country which everyone is interested in. Politics makes it more complicated. Propaganda from both sides in America and in Russia, it makes it more complicated. A lot of people in both countries are getting over-influenced by the propaganda and thinking they're hating anyone or whatever. But I think in the end, genuinely, nobody really like have any bad feelings about the U.S. as a place to live, as to the American nation as a nation. I don't think that.
Thanks, man. I was curious. I didn't think people did. I think the average person is more preoccupied, no matter where they are. I think the average person is just preoccupied with the same shit everybody, paying your bills, getting through the day, making sure your family's okay. I don't think the average person walks around thinking about stuff like that, like another country, what's going on there.
It all depends on the propaganda.
Yes.
If you're exposed to that too much, then you're gonna be thinking about how bad America at warmongering, instead of thinking about how the roads in your city are fucked up.
Right.
So it's kind of like
yeah. Your priorities are very influenced and shifted where they should be. Hey, I did a little research. I didn't realize how many people live just in Moscow. It said 13 million people live in Moscow, and 20 million people live in the whole metropolitan area around Moscow. Where did you grow up in? Did you grow up in a suburb or in the city itself?
Me personally, I moved to Moscow when I was 15. So I lived half my life here, but I lived in another part of Russia, in the southern part, Caucasus. There's a mountainside. So I moved there when I was 15. Max, my guitar bandmate, he was born in Russia, and you can call it suburbs because it's hard to say. We don't have exact suburbs like in the US. We just have these. It's kind of suburbs, but it's not private houses, but like 10, 20 story buildings with people living there. So even when you go out of the city in more of like a, not country, but a rural setting, you still have apartment buildings, not private houses. No, we have villages and some private houses, but in Moscow, the private housing is not too common. In other big cities of Russia, it's more common. But in Moscow, there's almost no private houses in Moscow because it's so metropolitan. All people from all over the country go to Moscow. That's why it's so big, because we have Moscow with like almost 15 million people. We have St. Petersburg with I think almost 10 million, maybe 8, I don't know exact numbers. But all of the other big cities, they're like just 1 million. So there's no cities with 5 millions or 3 millions people. No, there are like maybe 10, 15 cities with a million people, and there are just 2 cities with like fucking 20 million combined.
That's massive, man. I mean, even New York only has 8 million, and that's spread out amongst it's a reasonably good sized area. I mean, it's crowded, but shit, 13 million. That's amazing.
Sometimes, not just sometimes, but most of the times people refer to Moscow as, you have Russia and you have Moscow, because Moscow is like kind of a different country, a country within a country.
Interesting. What made you move to Moscow at 15? Well, I'm assuming your family moved at 15.
I finished the school, the high school, and my dad was living in Moscow, working there for a long time, and I moved to him, and I went to the university in Moscow. So it's the transition between the school and the university.
Very cool, man. What did you study?
At first, my first degree, my first degree is in law.
Really?
And then I started the second degree in journalism, but I didn't finish the journalism. But I work more as a journalist and a marketing specialist and everything.
Dude, that's awesome that you have a legal background, because as a musician, that is so important, so that nobody screws you.
Hopefully, but I don't think it's. I'm not like kind of specialist in the laws, especially in intellectual property. Intellectual property. So, but yeah, maybe it's about the approach. It makes you think more about the legal consequence and everything. Maybe I never worked in the law field. Actually, I just started getting that degree. I was studying and everything, but then I got the second degree. So I focused on marketing and journalism and whatever.
That's really cool, man. That's great. You got a great background. No wonder why your English is so. You must read a lot, because people that generally are journalists read a lot, man. Now everything's coming together. What was growing up like for you? What was your childhood like?
It was 90s, and 90s in Russia. I don't know. It's maybe the worst time ever in history of Russia at all. It was not good. My mother, she still is a teacher, just a school teacher, and we were really poor in 90s, because after the fall of the Soviet Union, 90s were like all the hell broke loose. The crime rates, the poverty everywhere. It was really bad, bad. I was, when you're a kid, you enjoy everything. I know. I think kids in Africa now they're enjoying their childhood anyway.
Sure.
I've had like good things, and the good thing in 90s were, everything that broke into Russia after the fall of the Soviet Union, like American movies, like American music, not just American, but British and American and everything. Music, like stuff like, video games and everything. So, I don't know, Snickers, chocolate, Coca-Cola, everything. But it was not really good. Looking back now, I understand that how poor we were, and how the all kind of situation and circumstances in the country, how bad it was. It was really bad. And I'm happy that I was a kid.
Sure.
Because I think that people who like my parents, who had some obligations to do, who had kids to feed, they were struggling. That was really bad.
Wow. Has things turned around there a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Great.
It's a bad thing that we had those 90s, those really bad 90s, because it's like 18 years passed since 90s, and when the government is fucking up at something, they always have an excuse like, well, it's still better than the 90s, but
yeah, so it's very much like America.
of course it's better now, but still a lot of things are fucked up. But it's better, of course. My mom is still a teacher, is still just a teacher at the school. She teaches maths, but she moved to Moscow from our little town, and her salary is like, I don't know, it's maybe 30 times bigger than it was 20 years ago.
Wow.
Like 30 times bigger, because back then she had like, I don't know, how could I say, she had like $2,000 in a month. She had.
Okay. Like $2,000?
And now she's making like, I don't know, about 3,000 in a month. So it's really huge. So
that's
90s
good.
were really poor, But there are still a lot of people who's very struggling now. We're still far away from perfect. Far away.
Yeah. Man, thank you for being so open about that. It's really interesting to hear about that. I think one of the things that I'm not one of these people that thinks, anything is special, but I had the good fortune of growing up in New York City, and throughout my whole life, I've met, maybe thousands of people from other countries. And I do think that the one thing here, there's a couple of things here that I'm grateful for. And one of them is, for the most part, you can have opportunities to make money. And with the exception of occasional recessions where the economy is just bad, if you are willing to work hard, you can earn money. And I know, for example, what you're saying, I'm sure your parents were killing themselves at work, and the money wasn't there. And we really, in my lifetime, haven't had that experience here. And I'm grateful for that,
What do you have in the U.S. is a stable capitalist system. It's stable, it's well established. I'm not a kind of big fan of capitalism, but still, it's working. It's okay. What we had in 90s, it was called a transition from the socialist Soviet Union to a capitalistic, but it was nothing close to capitalism. It was the only people who could work hard and get some money, not talking about any criminal stuff. The only people were people who were buying and selling, retail and everything. So there were nothing. A lot of when the Soviet Union was falling, a lot of people were promoting that, like, we're gonna have private property, we're gonna have private businesses, and a lot of people gonna start their businesses, and it sounded good, but for the whole 90s, there was not a single business started aside from retail. There were nobody produced anything. Nobody produced anything. No factories, no clothing or whatever, nothing. They were just buying cheap in China and selling a bit more expensive in Russia, nothing else.
Wow.
When you're talking about the US, if you want to start a business, not just about selling something, you could do that. You
Anything.
can do that. money. Yeah,
absolutely, literally anything for very little money for the most part.
In 90s, you couldn't do that. The only thing you could gain some money is for buying and selling again. So just no businesses, no producing anything, no production, nothing. And now, of course, now it's better, but it's like this in Moscow. Somebody said that you can't get hungry in Moscow because it's impossible to not gain any money in Moscow. Any person could find a way to work here, but not in the smaller cities.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for explaining that. What were obviously you just talked about one of them. Were there any other like low points or obstacles that you personally had to deal with throughout your career, either business, music, personal, any of them that you feel like sharing?
When I was talking about 90s, I can't say that it was a low point because I was a kid, and there was no career or anything. But well, if we're talking about music, about the band, of course the lowest point was when we were disbanded for like 2.5 years, and me and Max we're not talking to each other for some personal reasons, and the band there were no band because of that, and finally we could overcome this, and we came to agreement. First, we okay, we're not going to be friends, but we're just gonna get the band going as a business project,
Mm-hmm.
as a deal. And we started that, but then we became friends again, and so
which is great, man.
Of course, yeah,
which is great.
We're best friends.
That's good, man. I'm glad that happened. I'm glad you guys worked that out.
We've had some issues, so definitely,
I think that's normal, though, man. I mean, how do you? It's really hard to. I mean, everybody. It's hard to have relationships consistently without having issues, man. Shit comes up, especially when you're playing in a band like that. You just figure out how to work it out.
It was not about not because of the band, but we were working together too, like on a regular. So it was all tough. Messed up, all messed up. But anyway, those 2.5, almost 3 years when we were not playing, for some time of it, for most of the time, I didn't even have a guitar. I sold everything, and I was not playing guitar at all.
Wow.
And now I understand that at that time I started hitting the gym really hard.
Yeah, man, I saw on Facebook you're in great shape, dude.
Not now. And now I understand that I gave all the commitment that was free from music. I gave it to the gym, Again, we started playing. Then we came again together. We started playing, and then I abandoned the gym, but for 3 years. But I think it's 2 months. I'm going to the gym again, so gonna be in shape for
you, man.
And everything. So yeah, you just gotta balance everything. So yeah, of course, the lowest point was the hiatus, or how could you call that?
Yep, hiatus. That's fine, man.
Yeah.
What do you do in the gym? Do you just you look like you train like Brazilian jiu-jitsu or something like that, or are you just lifting weights? Or
I'm just working out. I was just like, I can't call it bodybuilding, just working out, some cardio, some weightlifting, but I think I should do something more like closer to not CrossFit, but functional training at all. Because if you just gain muscle, you're not too. It's not healthy just to gain muscle. You have to gain to be agile, to be fast, to be resilient and everything. So I think I'm going to be working in that field.
Very cool.
I'm a pretty big guy, and I always gain some extra weight. So it's not comfortable to live with extra weight. if it's fat or if it's extra muscle, it's still not comfortable too much.
Yeah.
So it's to be thinner and more agile and more resistant and whatever.
Well, dude, I saw your pictures on Facebook. You look like you're in great shape, man.
Oh, that was a long time ago. Now I'm fatter, but I'm gonna lose it.
Well, that's good, man. I'm glad you're doing something. Hey, let's talk about your guitar for a couple of minutes. You play a customized Ibanez Sifos baritone. Is there like a big selection of guitars even available over there?
Yeah, but there's not a lot of people in Russia who buy new guitars, because mostly it's people who buy used guitars from Japan and from maybe some from Europe, but mostly from Japan, because of the fall of our national currency, like 4 years ago. The new guitars in music stores, they became really expensive. When you have like kind of budget, some Chinese guitars, they worth you a monthly salary. That's
holy shit.
Sometimes that's really stupid. But there are some Russian manufacturers started rising up. There are some of them, not like really big, like you can compare them to Ibanez or ESP or anything, but they are rising up. They're making some good guitars. But anyway, Ibanez, Ibanez was my first electric guitar because it was the cheapest one. I bought it I bought the beginner's kit back there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like kind of dedicated to Ibanez anyway. So when I had to buy a new guitar, when I became a guitar player in the band again, after we gathered again, I was looking for some different guitars. I was having a lot of different guitars. So I got that Sifos shape, like star shaped. And I was like, whoa, it's nice. I really love that. I really love the shape. It was very comfortable. It looks so weird, like, it looks not so ergonomical, but in fact, it's very ergonomical. It's very comfortable to play standing and sitting. And anyway, so I was just messing up. I bought a painted one from another guy who painted it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a stock one. He just painted it with the blood and stuff. I don't know if you've seen the pics.
Yeah, I've seen some. Well, I've seen some on Facebook. It's hard to. I see the one you're talking about with the blood. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my only guitar, and I had it. I changed pickups for Russian ones. We have a very good Russian kind of maybe you can call it boutique pickups.
Mm-hmm.
A very small manufacturer, but they're making really good pickups. They're called ARP pickups, and then somehow, at first I wanted to put a Floyd into it, but because it's a fixed bridge, I wanted to put a Floyd, and I changed. And I wanted to change neck to have a top lock. But then I understood that I don't want a Floyd. I want a fixed bridge. But I already started changing necks, so I custom ordered in some Moscow guitar workshop. I custom ordered, and I thought, like, what should I have? Like a different neck. I'm gonna have a longer one. Okay, I'm gonna have a baritone. So that's why I had a baritone. And in fact, it started sounding so fucking insane. It's very loud guitar. You can play it unplugged, and it sounds like almost an acoustic guitar. It's very loud. It's very resonant because of the neck mostly. The neck is not just long; it's also very thick. Mm. It has a very thick profile, like not on the most Ibanez guitars. So yeah.
Well, that makes sense because you're a big guy, you said, so you need a thicker neck, I would imagine. Yeah.
a thicker and a longer neck because I have long fingers, I have long arms, and sometimes it's more comfortable for me to play a baritone scale.
Sure, totally get it, man.
I'm gonna say that it was not like on the necessity to have a customized guitar. I was just messing up, and I was like, in the end, I came up to this.
Yeah, but you're a guitar player, man. The guitar players, guitar players tweak their guitars all the time, man. That's like totally normal.
Like any dedicated people, like people who love cars or photos or whatever.
Absolutely, man. What would be your top desert island discs? Do you know what I mean by that? I don't know if that's a term.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I understand that. How many?
Just pick, whatever, a handful.
Handful. One handful, like 5 or 2?
Yeah, the first 5 that come to mind.
Okay.
Just for now, because I could ask you the same question tonight; it'd be a different answer.
No, not sure. I think I'm having the same top for a long time. It's gonna be Machine Head by Deep Purple.
Great record. Man.
It's my first ever band that I liked it when I was like 8, and the first ever album. It's a Machine Head by Deep Purple. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son by Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden, yeah, another great record.
Iron Maiden is maybe the most favorite band ever.
Do you ever listen to? Sorry,
yeah.
Do you ever listen to their first 2 albums?
Maiden?
Yeah,
of course.
I actually like them better with that. Was Paul Di'Anno singing? I'm like a weird.
Okay, he was too punky. Bruce Dickinson is just another level. It's like another level of vocals. Completely another level.
Yep.
They wouldn't be able to play most of their later songs with Paul Di'Anno because he's just a great rock singer.
Right.
He's just a great rock singer. He's not the bigger than life guy as Bruce Dickinson.
No, I'm in the minority. I realize that, but I always like those first 2 records.
I know people like that, but I love a lot of songs from the first 2 records. I love Phantom of the Opera. It's one of my favorite Maiden songs ever. Good stuff. There's 2 albums. Yeah, if I named Maiden, that I should name Judas Priest, Painkiller. Mm-hmm. I think it's the ultimate metal album ever. If somebody gonna ask me what is heavy metal, I should play the Painkiller because that's the epitome of metal music for me. Painkiller. I should name Metropolis, Scenes from a Memory by Dream Theater, because I love Dream Theater, that like prog metal band, and they have a lot of everything. They have progressive stuff, they have metal stuff and everything, and they're like kind of essence of music for me. And Metropolis is my favorite album of there.
I think I'm trying to work with John Petrucci. They're going on tour right now, so it's hard for him, but he's going to be coming on the show at some point.
Oh, I wish there would be. I wish he would be there because he's great. Yeah. He's a great guy to talk with, and I think they're playing Moscow in summer. I'm going to be attending. I saw them live
cool.
Times. Dream Theater. There's 4. I don't know. Maybe I should add something more extreme, like closer to. It's going to be Seasons in the Abyss by Slayer. Not rating. Seasons in the Abyss by Slayer.
Mm-hmm.
I have 5. I don't know. I may have 10 if you want.
No. Okay, that's cool, man. That's very cool.
I'll be okay with that. I have some old stuff like Deep Purple. I have some progressive stuff. I have some heavy metal stuff. I have some extreme stuff. Yeah, I'll be okay with these 5 albums.
This is actually a pretty impressive list. That you got Machine Head on there. That's for a guy your age to even know about Machine Head is pretty cool, man. I know you know about all this stuff, but it's pretty cool. That's a great record.
As far as I know, Deep Purple were not really big in the States, but they are huge in Russia, and they are still huge in Russia.
I wouldn't say they weren't big in the States. I don't really know how well they did commercially here, but I know all the people that like them really like them. Like, I grew up with them and I love them. I have every record they ever made in vinyl. And of course now I have it in digital, and I think most of the people that were into music back then did. I don't know commercially how they did. I would think it was okay, but I don't know for sure. I saw them in concert, at a giant stadium in the Meadowlands in New Jersey. And I think it was like Guns N' Roses. It was three bands, Guns N' Roses, somebody else, and Deep Purple. I don't know the second band off the top of my head. Or maybe it was just Guns N' Roses opening up for Deep Purple. Long time ago. Man, tough questions now. What do you like most about yourself, Shamil?
What I like?
Yeah, most about you.
No. I think I'm not gonna. I don't want to sound arrogant, but I think I'm kind of naturally talented man. That's a curse too. Because when you think of yourself as a naturally talented person, you cannot work too hard to become better. But anyway, I think I'm when I just start doing something, it goes very well. If it's whether it's guitar or gym or studying, or if it's law studying, or if it's journalism or marketing or whatever, I get it easy at the start.
That's great, man. So let me ask you this. You grew up in less than ideal conditions, right? But you didn't seem to let that sort of mindset that was maybe around when you grew up dictate your mindset as an adult. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
In what cases? What do you mean?
Okay, well, generally, if you grow up in less than ideal conditions, you grew up in poverty. The situation might not have been ideal. There was struggling. A lot of times when you come from that environment, you don't transcend that. You still have that mindset of, oh, this is how life is. But you seem to have transcended that, and the fact that you could say, hey, when I do things and I apply myself, they tend to work out well, especially in the beginning, for whatever reason. A lot of times people that grow up in an environment that's not that great, they wouldn't have that confidence.
Because the environment had changed. I've seen different. I've seen people making better. And I've seen my parents doing better, and I've seen the possibilities. I moved to Moscow. I think maybe if I was still live in a small city when I was born and spent my childhood, maybe it was much worse. Maybe I would never become a marketing specialist. I would never get a law degree. I would never start like a music band. Maybe I was just working at some grocery store or whatever. I don't know.
Sure. No, I give you credit because a lot of times that's difficult to do. When people come from an extreme in one place, it's hard to change their attitude to become successful, if that makes sense.
My parents were pushing me. They were pushing me to be more successful, and they are not.
There you go.
Poor. We were poor, but we were not like, we were not like some kind of drunk family or hobos or whatever. We were.
Sure.
My mother, she's a teacher, and my dad, he was kind of businessman, and they're intelligent people,
Sure.
So they were like, giving me a good education and everything. So that was about it. They pushed me, of
Well, you just gave me the answer, that because you had these people pushing you. That's great, man. Because a lot of times people don't make that switch when they have a certain lifestyle. They don't realize you can change. They just think that's normal, and then they do the same thing. If that makes sense, what I'm saying to you.
The macro environment, like in the country, it was bad, but the micro environment in the family, it was good.
Okay, great.
That's the answer.
Great, man. I'm glad that was not an easy concept. That I wasn't sure if I would explain that properly. That with the English, you did great, man. You're a smart dude, man. Most important thing your dad taught you.
I don't think he directly taught me anything, but he's a very complex man.
I hear you. How about
he? I don't know if it counts or whatever. I don't know. I'm gonna tell you a little story about my dad. I came when I finished the school, and I came from the small city to Moscow. I was living with him because he was living in Moscow, and he was living in the house where he was living. There was a guitar, like acoustic guitar, classical guitar, not just acoustic, but a classical guitar. And I started. That's the guitar I started playing at first when I was 15. And there was just a guitar. It was hanging there. He was not playing there, nothing. And I was just started messing around. I loved rock music for a long time. And every guy who loves rock music, he wants to play a guitar, of course.
Sure.
So I was just messing around with the guitar. That was a classical guitar. It's not even steel strings, nylon strings. And I was listening to Maiden and everything. And I was just trying to. I had no teacher. I had no like proper lessons or anything. I was just trying to make. To play on the guitar by myself. I bought some picks or whatever. So I was doing that, and he was like seeing me. He was like, "Stop harassing the guitar. You can't play that. Don't do that. Why are you doing that?" I was like, I'm just playing. I'm just messing around." Okay. So there was like about a year passed, and he knew that I had no lessons and I had no teacher and anything, and about a year had passed, and I was just playing, and a lot of things started to sound like music. I was playing some riffs that I knew. I started playing with fingers, with a pick, and everything. And he just, are you playing guitar? And I was like, yeah. I just kind of, I just got to play that, and he was like, you're good. You're like you had nothing. You just had some guitar and you started playing it by yourself. And he's a very ambitious man. He's a very complex man. He's a very critical man. But he respected me for that. And he said, "Do you want to have a like electric guitar?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." And he gave me money. Go buy yourself an electric guitar, because he wouldn't give me this money just like, yeah, you want a guitar, go buy a guitar. He knew, he saw that I did something having nothing, and he gave me the money. So that's the thing. I think that's the approach. A lot of people, my wife and even with my kids, it's the same. A lot of people think that if they want to have something, some ability or something, they just can't buy it. You can't buy a ripped body shape. You can't buy it. You
got that right, brother.
You have to work for it. And there are a lot of things that you can buy, but there are some things that you can't buy. So that's the approach I think he taught me, not directly, but by his example. And I'm really grateful for him for giving me money to buy electric guitar, and I'm really grateful for him for doing it not just like the boy asked and the dad bought it, but he did that after he saw some progress that I did by myself.
Yeah.
And he respected that, and he did that. I think that's a pretty important thing for me. I would never think about it if you wouldn't ask, but that's the important thing for me.
No, I agree with you. So do you find yourself the same way? Your child is probably young, right?
Yeah, I have 2 kids, 3 and 5 years.
Do you find yourself kind of like, it's kind of young still, but like you want to have them, to me, it's just having, I don't know if this expression makes sense, a little skin in the game.
Yeah, a bit like that.
Yeah.
A bit like that.
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not kind of parent who just doesn't allow anything, doesn't buy anything. No, my kids have, a lot of toys and everything, but you don't get anything for nothing.
You can't buy a work ethic.
Yeah.
You got a work ethic. To me is extremely important, man.
Right now, when my kid he crashes some toy, he doesn't get another one just because he crashed. I'm saying like,
yep,
you did that by yourself. Like,
yep.
That was your toy. That was your property, not mine. Your property,
yeah.
And you chose to crash it. So you don't have one. You're having another ones, but you don't have that one. I'm not going to buy that one again.
Yeah, I think that's important. If you do that in a loving way, I think it's really important. I think it.
Yeah.
I think it teaches people a lot. My kids were the only kids I didn't buy them a car. I told them when they were younger, I said, hey, listen, start saving money now. I will match every dollar you save up until you're 16. So if you save $100, I'll put in $100. And then when you're 16, whatever you want to buy, or 17, that's up to you, and however much money you've saved. I gave them a little money, but I was the only parent pretty much around here that didn't buy them a car, and they hated me for it. Then later, my older son, he's 29. He's your age. He's could be 29 in a couple of months, but he said, I'm really glad you did that because I appreciated buying my own car. So I believe that's important, man.
You don't value the things if you get it for nothing.
Got to have some skin in the game.
Yeah.
How about your mom? What's the most important thing she taught you? And thanks for sharing that story, man. That was cool.
My mom, she taught me maths in school. No, she's actually my dad. He was, we were not living together at the time. And I was living with my mom and my older brother in the small city, and my dad was working in Moscow. And so most of the time I was having mom as a parent, and she was not the mommy kind of mom, because she was almost a single mom. Sure. Almost, because my dad was far away. She was almost a single mom raising 2 sons in a very hostile environment of 90s Russia, and she was not like that. And she was working like the whole day in school. She was not that kind of mommy kind of mom. She was a very strong person. She's very intelligent. She's a teacher. She demands a lot, and she's caring, of course. But she was she was a teacher in the school when I was studying. But when I was fighting with some guys, she was never like protecting me or whatever. She was never going there like, don't do that, don't touch my son or whatever. She was like, go to the sports. I was going for judo training, then I was going for boxing training. She was very tough. She still is pretty tough woman. I love that. And in fact, my dad he was not a rock music fan, but my mom, she's a rock music fan, and she was a rock music fan when she was young, when she was like in 70s. It was hard to listen to rock music in the Soviet Union, but still, she loved that, and she was a big fan of Deep Purple, of Uriah Heep, if you know that
Yeah, of course.
band.
Yeah.
And I'm going with her at these bands live shows now.
That is cool, man.
We've seen Uriah Heep together. We've seen Deep Purple together. We've seen Rainbow together. Last year, we've seen Metallica. No, she didn't see Metallica. No. But she wants to. We've seen Rammstein together, and that was a big, very big thing.
That's cool, man. Very cool.
She loved rock music when she was young, and she's still listening to rock music, and she's almost 60, and she still listens to a lot of new rock music. She loves Ghost, she loves Avenged Sevenfold. She's a rock mom.
Dude, that's really cool.
She still teaches maths in school. That's I think that's a cool combination.
Very cool, man. Talk about, well, maybe you did that already. Tell me the toughest decision you've had to make, or the most difficult thing you've had to do.
Music-wise?
You pick whatever you feel. Could be music, could be otherwise.
We're talking about guitars and music and everything. Well, that's you got to say that's this decision to kick off your good friend from the vocal spot. Not just a good friend, but a founder of the band and everything. But we kicked him off twice. First from the drums, then from the vocals. Maybe the second one was harder, but we had to do that. There's a lot of things, because when you have three guys committed to the band, it's better than when you have two guys committed to the band. Not just committed with the whole heart and soul. Giving money for all the assets.
Sure.
So you have three guys, and then you have just two guys like me and Max. So it was hard to make the decision. It was not just about like, oh, we're firing a friend. It was not just about that. We're firing a third person who was committed to the band, and then we have just two, and then we hire two another people which are not that committed, because they are more like a session guys, and maybe they will become committed, but not at the start.
Yeah.
So of course,
totally get that, man. Two more questions, man. And you've been like, this is probably a totally weird interview for you, because these are not questions that you normally get asked in an interview. So thank you. You've been really great, and I really appreciate it. Best advice you've been given, and who gave it to you?
I don't know. Actually, I couldn't even think of any advice I was given like by anyone, like direct advice. I think mostly about things in life, and some happenings, some stuff that happens. That is the form of advices,
Sure.
They just the advice when you say like something, do that and there will be that. It's never work out. It's never that easy.
Yeah,
it's never that easy. Say that. There are people like business trainers or whatever who say just like, I have 5 steps for you for 5 success. You follow these 5 steps and you're gonna be successful. No, it never works like that.
Yeah,
there's never an ultimate recipe for guitar playing, for building a family, for building a band, for building a business. I don't think that there are any kind of advice. You can just give advice and that's it.
I agree with you, man. And the last question, and again, thank you for everything, man. What do you think has been the biggest change in your personality over, let's say, the last 5 years or a few years? And has the change been deliberate on your part, or has it just been a natural progression through aging a little bit?
people I know, the people not just people I know, but the people who know me, they say that I don't change that much. And I'm 30, but I act a lot like I'm 15. I do a lot of silly things. I do a lot of stupid, like fart ass.
That's called being a guy.
Yeah, I do a lot of that, and I don't change too much. And my wife, she got to know me when I was doing a lot of stupid stuff on the internet, and she got to know me through that. It was not just like, oh, he's a normal guy, and then I'm doing something stupid. No, she got to know me through that.
That's good though.
Attitude, so she knew that I'm like this, and now she sometimes gets a bit surprised that she was like, oh, that was 10 years ago and you're still not changing. I was expecting you to change a little, maybe. Not changing. I don't know, maybe
30's still young. You got plenty of time to change.
Maybe me myself, I thought that, I don't know, I'm getting married, I'm getting kids. Maybe I'm going to change. I'm getting more serious or whatever. Maybe I'm going to abandon all this stupid music metal shit and I'm going to work hard just to maintain my family and whatever. But no, nothing changes. I still do that. Sometimes it's a bad thing because, sometimes it prevents you from bigger job opportunities maybe, but I'm not changing that much. I think so. And some people who know me really good, they're saying the same. Not changing that much.
I actually think you're pretty mature for 30. So for whatever that's worth. So I think you're doing really well.
I'm not just kind of batshit crazy. When it needs to be serious, I gotta be serious. When it can be, when it's free to not be serious, I'm okay. That's an interview. We're talking about, if you could ask, like, I don't know, some stupid fart shit, I would maintain that. You're asking serious questions and I'm acting serious. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Well, if I had a quick fart question to think, if I had one off the top of my head, I would ask it to you. I just don't have it here.
It's the same. I think it should be the same. And I try to make it the same with the music of the band. It's not just like I'm solely doing that, but Max, he shares my approach. You have to be able to do everything. And that's what that's the spirit of our band. That's the spirit of a Seversun as a band. We don't have to do anything. We don't like obligated to play jazz or whatever, but we have to be able to do anything. If we want to put I don't know, like smooth jazz part in a song, we should do that. We should never like say like, oh, that's too not metal for us. Or if we want to like add some, I don't know, some maybe rap stuff in the song or electronic stuff, or maybe some like crazy black metal stuff or like brutal death metal stuff in the song, we should be able to do that. We should never like say that's a good riff, but it's too heavy for us. We should never do that. That's the same with the whole life approach. Like, you have to be able to be serious. You have to be intelligent enough to be serious, to talk about serious stuff, about, I don't know, about politics, about the art, about the books of philosophy or whatever. But you should be able to have a joke, to joke about yourself, to be funny, because that's how you have fun. I'm not drinking at all. I'm not drinking alcohol. I'm not taking any drugs, and I like to have fun naturally.
Man, I'm the same way. I think it's so important to
yeah. I don't understand people who just say like, "Why are you drinking?" Like, I'm not a straight edge style. No, I'm just like, why are you drinking? And he's like, oh, to have fun. But I can't have fun without that. So you have to be able to do everything.
Well, listen, first of all, thank you for everything, man. You've been a real pleasant guy to talk to. I really appreciate. What time is it there? It's got to be like 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock?
9
o'clock. Thank you so much, man. I want to tell people where to get turned on to Seversun. First of all, it's Shamil Usarov, Usarov, and the name of his band is Seversun, Seversun. If you are into extreme metal, these guys are badasses, and they are coming out with a new song really soon. It's called Gunpowder Sweet, and what I'd like you to do is sign up on their YouTube channel. It's youtube.com, Seversun, Seversun. They'll be dropping the song there. These guys work really hard, and I think they're doing a great job, especially in light of the fact that there's not a ton of guidance and help where they're at over in Russia. Also, they have a pretty active Instagram account, and Max is pretty funny. He does some funny stuff on there. So you could check them out on Instagram. Again, it's Seversun, Seversun. And check out their music on Bandcamp. All their music and their merchandise is on there. You guys have a lot of stuff to offer, actually, between your merch and your music. I've seen it, and it's really cool. And it's Bandcamp. Again, it's Seversun, Seversun. Did I miss anything, Shamil? Anything else you want to talk about or turn people on to?
No, I think everything is okay. I would just, I like that we talked a lot about some personal stuff at all. I was just expecting for you, like, more talking about the guitar stuff, but I was not prepared. I like that.
This is a guitar show, but it's not a guitar show. This is a biography about guitar players. It's really what it is. So, yeah. But man, thank you very much, and you're more than welcome back on the show anytime. And good luck with Gunpowder Sweet. And if I could help you out with anything, please let me know. Hang on one second while I wrap up. And thank you again. I really appreciate your time. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it with a friend on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Thanks again to Shamil Usarov for spending time with us. Please support him and Max and Seversun. Check them out online at youtube.com/Seversun. Again, it's Seversun. And check out their new single that's going to drop any day now or real soon from the time this airs. It's called Gunpowder Sweet, Suite. Make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.